Amara woke up before the sun rose. The small mud house was cold, and the floor was hard. Her little brother, Tund, was still sleeping on the mat. She touched his face gently and whispered, "I will bring food today." Her stomach was empty, but she had no time to think about hunger. She tied her old headscarf, picked up the delivery bag, and stepped outside. The morning air was full of dust and the smell of firewood smoke. Amara was only 19, but life had turned her into a fighter. Her parents had died in a road accident when she was 12. Since then, she had been everything for Tund: mother, father, and sister. She worked as a delivery girl for a small food shop. The pay was poor, but it kept them alive. Her bicycle was old and rusty. Sometimes the chain broke, but she still used it every day because there was no other choice. That morning, she had 3 big deliveries. The boss told her, "If you miss one, don't come back." She whispered a prayer and started pedaling. The road was long and rough. The sun climbed higher, burning her skin. Sweat ran down her back, but she kept going. After delivering the first order, she headed to the second house. The sound of people shouting stopped her. She slowed down and saw a small crowd on the side of the road. "What is happening?" Amara asked as she jumped off her bicycle. An old man was lying in the dust. His face was pale and his clothes were dirty. He was breathing fast, like someone fighting for life. People stood around him, just watching. "Why is no one helping?" Amara shouted. A man laughed. "Because we are not doctors. Why should we carry a stranger to the clinic?" Another woman said, "Maybe he is cursed. You help him, you carry his bad luck." Amara felt anger rise inside her. How can they stand and watch a man die? She knelt beside him. "Appa, can you hear me?" she asked softly. The old man's lips moved. His voice was weak like dry leaves in the wind. "Water, please." Amara quickly opened her small water bottle and gave it to him. He sipped slowly, his hands shaking. She could see fear in his eyes, the fear of death. The crowd began to walk away. Someone said, "Leave him. If he dies, it is his time." Amara looked at the man. He was someone's father. Maybe someone was waiting for him at home. She felt her heart beating fast. She remembered Tund. If this was my brother, would I want people to leave him? Her mind told her to walk away, finish her deliveries, and keep her job. But her heart shouted louder, "Save him!" Amara stood up. She had no money for a taxi. The clinic was far, but she had a bicycle and 2 strong legs. She pulled the bicycle closer, bent down, and tried to lift the man. He was heavy, but she didn't stop. Sweat rolled down her face as she carried him on her back and sat him on the seat. Then she began to push the bicycle slowly, step by step, under the burning sun. People stared in shock. Some whispered, "That girl is mad." Others said she will lose her job. Amara didn't care. Her hands hurt, her feet burned, and her heart pounded like a drum. But she kept moving. The old man's head rested on the handlebar, his breath weak like a candle about to die. She prayed silently, "God, don't let him die before we reach help." And then, with a hot wind in her face and the sound of the road under her feet, Amara pushed forward, not knowing that this single choice would change her life forever. The road to the small clinic was long and cruel. The sun was a burning fire in the sky, and the heat pressed down like a heavy stone. Amara's legs felt weak, but she did not stop pushing the bicycle. The old man sat like a shadow, his body shaking with every small bump on the road. "Hold on, Baba," she whispered. "Please don't die." The man opened his eyes slowly. His lips moved, but no sound came out. His head leaned on the bicycle handle. Amara's heart jumped in fear. She touched his hand. It was cold like water from the night. "God, help me," she prayed, tears running down her cheeks as she struggled. Forward, her phone rang. She stopped and looked at the screen. 'Twas her boss. She knew what he wanted. "Where are you?" His angry voice shouted when she answered. 3 deliveries, still waiting. Customers are calling me. If you don't finish, don't come back. Amara closed her eyes. She could almost hear the sound of the door closing on her only job. She lost it, there would be no money for food, no money for ton school. Boss, please. She tried to explain, but the line cut off. Her chest felt heavy. She knew what that meant. She was already fired. She stood still for a moment, her hands shaking. She looked at the old man again. His breath was slow, his eyes closing like a candle losing light. Do I leave him? Do I save my job? The questions tore her mind apart. But then she remembered her brother's smile, and she remembered her mother's voice saying, "Do good, Amara. Even when the world is watching or not, do good." She wiped her tears and whispered, "I will not leave you, Baba. I will not." She grabbed the bicycle again and pushed harder. Her legs ached, her back screamed in pain, but her heart was stronger. Step by step, she moved like a warrior in a battle she could not afford to lose. The road was almost empty now. Dust rose around her like smoke. Her old slippers broke, but she didn't care. She dragged her feet on the hot ground. She could feel blisters forming, but she did not stop. Finally, after what felt like 1,000 years, the clinic came into view, a small building with white walls and a faded sign. Amara felt her strength return like water in the desert. She ran, shouting, "Help! Somebody help!" 2 nurses rushed out. When they saw the old man, they pulled him down quickly and carried him inside. "His pulse is very weak," one nurse said. "Get oxygen." Amara stood by the door, her chest rising and falling like a drum. Hands were covered in dust, her face wet with sweat and tears. She watched as they put a mask on the old man and connected wires to his chest. A doctor came out after some minutes and said, "If you were late by even 30 minutes, he would have died. You've saved his life." Mara sat on the bench outside. Her body shook from tiredness and her stomach screamed with hunger. She looked at her broken slippers and her empty hands. She had nothing now. No job, no money. But inside her heart, there was peace. She whispered softly, "Thank you, God, for keeping him alive." That night, she slept on the cold floor of the clinic near the old man's bed. She had nowhere else to go. She watched his chest rise and fall slowly, and she smiled through her pain. She did not know that this one act of kindness, this one choice to save a dying man, would open doors she never dreamed of. The clinic was quiet except for the sound of an old fan turning slowly. Amara sat on a wooden bench near the bed. Her eyes were heavy with sleep, but her heart stayed awake. For 2 nights, she had not gone home. She stayed by the old man's side, feeding him, giving him water, and cleaning his hands with a small cloth. She had no money for food. The last coins in her pocket were gone on his medicine and tea. Her stomach cried, but she did not complain. Sometimes she thought of Tund. Is he hungry? Is he angry that I did not come home? The thoughts broke her heart, but she could not leave the man alone. On the 3rd morning, the old man opened his eyes slowly. His voice was like a whisper in the wind. "Child, are you still here?" "Yes, Baba," Amara said softly. "I am here." He looked at her with weak eyes, full of water. "Why? Why would you stay for an old man you don't know?" Amara smiled. "Because life is life, Baba. If I walk away, who will help you?" Old man's lips trembled into a small smile. "You have a heart of gold," he said. His hand, thin and shaking, touched hers. For a moment, Amara felt warmth like sunshine after rain. But before she could reply, the sound of car engines broke the silence. Loud voices filled the small clinic. Nurses ran outside. Amara stood quickly, confused. She walked to the window and froze. Outside, 3 black cars had stopped. They were big, shiny, and rich, like something from another world. From the first car stepped men in dark suits and glasses. They looked strong, like bodyguards in movies. Behind them came another man wearing a white agbada, his shoes shining like gold. His face was serious, but his clothes spoke of power and wealth. "Where is my father?" The man shouted as he entered the clinic. His voice was deep and commanding. The nurses pointed to the old man's room. The man in Agbada walked fast, his bodyguards behind him. Amara's heart jumped. Father. The door opened wide. The man in Agbada ran to the bed. Pa, he cried, kneeling beside the old man. Thank God we found you. We searched everywhere. Amara stood near the wall, her mouth open. She looked at the old man, then at the stranger, calling him Papa. The old man smiled weakly. My son, you came. Yes, Papa, the man said, holding his father's hand. His eyes turned red with tears. You should never have gone out alone. We were worried. Amara watched in silence, her mind spinning. Who are these people? She looked at their cars, their clothes, their bodyguards. This was no ordinary family. The old man turned his head slowly and pointed at Amara. My son, this girl, she saved my life. If not for her, I would be dead. The man in Agbada stood up and faced Amara. His sharp eyes softened when he looked at her dusty dress and broken slippers. You stayed with him all this time? Yes, Amara said quietly, her voice shaking. The man's lips curved into a smile. Do you know who he is? Amara shook her head. He is Chief Oba Idewell, the man said proudly. The richest man in 3 states. My father. Amara felt her knees go weak. The world around her turned silent. The old man she carried on her rusty bicycle, the man she fed with her last coins, was a billionaire's father. She touched her chest and whispered, God. Her heart beat fast like a drum in a festival. She had saved the life of a man who owned half the land in the region, but she did not know her life was about to change in ways she never imagined. The next morning, Amara woke up on the same wooden bench. Her body was stiff, her stomach empty, but her heart was full of questions. She looked at the old man, Chief Aben, now sitting up in bed, smiling. Nurses moved around, and the smell of food came from the kitchen. Then the man in the white Agbada entered. He was taller than most men and carried himself like a king. Behind him came 2 men holding bags. Amara, he said in a calm voice, come with me. Her legs felt weak as she followed him to a small room inside the clinic. The walls were white, the chairs soft. She had never sat in such a chair in her life. The man looked at her carefully. Do you know what you did, Amara? Lowered her eyes. I only helped a man in need. He smiled gently. You did more than that. You saved the life of my father, the man who built companies, schools, hospitals. Do you know what would have happened if you had walked away? Amara shook her head slowly. He would have died, the man said. His voice broke a little. And no money in this world could bring him back, but you, a poor delivery girl with nothing, gave him life. Amara's eyes filled with tears. She did not do it for reward, but hearing those words touched her heart. The man stood up and opened the door. 2 men carried in a small box and placed it on the table. When they opened it, Amara gasped. Inside were bundles of money, more than she had ever seen in her life. This, the man said, is just the beginning. No, Amara stepped back, her voice shaking. I cannot take this. Yes, you will, the man said softly, because you earned it. Then he gave her a paper. 'Tis a letter. From today, you will work in my company. Not as a delivery girl, but as a personal assistant, with a salary that will make your life new. Amara's mouth opened, but no words came out. We will also pay for your brother's school. And if you want to study, we will send you to the best university, he continued. And one more thing. You will have a new home. Tears rolled down her cheeks like rivers. Her knees touched the floor. Thank you, I have no words. Man lifted her up gently. Do not thank me. Thank yourself. It was your heart that opened this door. When they left the clinic, Amara could not believe her eyes. Outside, a brand new car waited for her. The same hands that once pushed a rusty bicycle now touched the soft leather of a car seat. She remembered. The day before, dust on her feet, hunger in her stomach, pain in her soul. And now blessings like rain falling from the sky. Chief Oba called her before leaving. His voice was soft, but strong. "Amara," he said, "never forget this. Wealth is good, but a good heart is greater. You gave without expecting, and that is why you will never lack." Amara bowed her head. "I will never forget, Baba." As the cars drove toward the big mansion, Amara looked out the window and whispered a prayer. "Thank you, God. Thank you for teaching me that kindness is the key to every closed door." From that day, the story of the poor delivery girl spread across the land like the wind. People said, kindness is a seed. When you plant it, blessings will grow. And so Amara's life changed forever, not because she had money now, but because she learned that the smallest act of love can open the biggest doors in life.